Art is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination. It is a diverse range or product of human activity involving creative imagination to express technical proficiency, beauty, emotional power, and conceptual ideas. Among the wide variety of art forms, let me introduce two of the most well-known. Roy Lichtenstein said that pop art looks out into the world. It doesn't look like the painting of something, it looks like the thing itself.
Pop art is a movement that emerged in 1950s Britain and exploded into enormous and everlasting success in 1960s America. Pop art employed a new, bold aesthetic inspired by popular culture such as advertising, comic books, and was a celebration of the mundane and the kitsch. The movement, as a reflection of the times, was about multiples and mass reproduction using new artistic techniques like silk screen printing.
It's impossible to even begin to understand this pop art movement if we don't have a historical context explaining when the movement actually emerged.
After the horrors that Europe experienced during the Second World War in the coming years, particularly in the beginning of the 1950s, a strong sense of optimism began to characterize the Western Europe societies, but also the United States. With strong economic development, countries like United Kingdom and the US began to experience societies embrace a consumeristic culture, a trend often called post-war consumer boom. On the other hand, cultural trends began to change as well. A couple of years later, a big cultural rebellion started against the dominant traditional culture patterns. As a consequence, something that is called mass production or mass culture emerged, and it paved the way for the emergence of the pop art movement. Therefore, the emergence of the pop art movement in both America and the UK has been always described as a reaction against abstract expressionist painting. Its subject matter often ranges from common household objects, consumer products, to images from popular media, challenges the elitism of high art. Furthermore, there are also the presence of British pop art, which exhibits more academic tendencies, and American pop art, which is characterized as immediate and aggressive through the use of bold colors and hard edges, according to pop art.
America's pop culture was seen as a goldmine of visual materials for pop artists, and these include comic books, advertising, billboards, and packaging, the ever-expanding world of home appliances and other commodities, and photographic image from cinema, television, and newspaper. Richard Hamilton and Eduardo Polozzi, together with the new wave of artists like David Hockney and Peter Blake, were among the members of the independent group that originated pop art in the mid-1950s. Among the influential pop art artists are Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein.
There are several readily recognizable characteristics that art critics use to define pop art. It is recognizable imagery drawn from popular media and products. It is usually very bright in colors, and is flat imagery influenced by comic books and newspaper photographs. Minimalism is a type of abstract art that emerged in post-World War II in the United States and is characterized by artworks composed of minimal geometric shapes based on squares and rectangles. It is also a reductive style or principle of simplicity.
Minimalism thrived during the 1960s and 1970s with Carl Andre, Dan Flaven, Donald Judd, Saul Llewellyn, Agus Martin, and Robert Morris, turning into the development's most important innovators. But in the late 1950s, artists including Frank Stella, whose block paintings were shown at the Museum of Modern Art in New York in 1959, began to turn away from the gestural art of the preceding generation. Carl Andre, Dan Flaven, Donald Judd, Saul Llewellyn, Agus Martin, and Robert Morris were among the movement's most influential innovators in the 1960s and 1970s. These artists wanted to create art that referred only to itself, allowing the viewers an immediate, purely visual response. The personal, natural elements were stripped away with the aim to reveal the objective, visual elements of art.
Minimalist art exemplifies a pure type of beauty. It can also be interpreted as a symbol for order, harmony, and truth, since it does not pretend to be anything other than what it is. Minimalist art is also called as ABC art, since it focuses on basic elements.
A style or technique that is characterized by simplicity. Minimalism is a term used to characterize movements in art and design, particularly visual art and music, in which the goal is to uncover a subject's core, fundamentals, or identity by removing any non-essential forms, feature, or concepts.
Important characteristics of minimalism includes the repetition of simple geometric forms like lines, squares, and circles, or basically simple shapes and design. One of the most common characteristics of minimalism is repetition or creating multiple images of the same shape, especially simple geometric forms like lines and squares. Early minimalist art was often monochromatic, meaning that it uses only one color and its associated colors. Another characteristic of minimalist painting is its hard edge, precise borders between areas of color, and there is no shading or subtle transition.
These types of art has been an important part of history that should be remembered and treasured.